This is Netflix's actual revenue and subscriber numbers that I've turned into a dynamic interactive dashboard that you too can create to analyse different growth drivers. So if you want to increase your Excel skills and learn how to easily build something like this, then stick around because that's what I'm about to show you in today's video. What's up guys, and welcome back to Everyday Excel, where I show you how to improve your creativity and general skills in Excel in a practical way. If you do like this video, then hit the like and subscribe buttons and turn on notifications so you don't miss any content, and feel free to check out my other playlists. But for now, let's go see how you build something like this. So I've gone on to Netflix's annual reports and proxies and sourced this information from their annual reports, which are available to the public, and gone through their 10Ks to find out their revenue breakdown over time and their average memberships, so I can create a dashboard like this. And what I'm going to show you is a basic way to show total revenue on your dashboard, but what actually drives that growth. So revenue is usually made up of price times volume, and if one grows then your total revenue will grow, but you might want to understand what's actually causing the overall revenue to grow. So I've broken it down here in terms of the number of subscribers Netflix had at the end of each year, and also the average monthly membership cost that people like you and me probably pay. And then you can use this timeline down here to adjust the periods that you want to look at, and it will update the compounded annual growth rate for both the average membership cost and the number of memberships at the end of the year, and the total growth across that period very dynamically. So you can look at your total revenue over time and you can see how it's gone up, but what's actually caused that? Majority been increased by the number of memberships growing each year compared to a lower growth in the average membership cost per month. So I'll show you how to build this slicer here in these graphs. These geographic split graphs are not very hard to build, so I'll just show you how to break down these here and have the dynamic growth rates linked through, because I cover this in another video that you can check out. I'll put the little description up here so you can go check that out if you want to. So how do we create something like this? So if we start with a blank slate like this, for the three graphs I'm going to show you how to create and also the growth rates. How would I create something like this? First you need to get your data. So I got the data from their 10K, which is the annual filing that they have to make in the United States. This is part of Netflix's 10K, so this is breakdown by geography. If I come over here, these are the consolidated figures, so you can see revenue from 2015 all the way to 2019, and now they're making over 20 billion in revenue per year. And you can also see the streaming paid memberships at the end of the period. So we should be using the average here across the whole year, but I've just used these just for simplicity, just to show you guys the concept. So what did I do? I set up a little data table here, and we can do this again. So I'll take these numbers and we'll put them on the data 2 tab. So these were the figures that I extracted from the annual statement that I said before. I'm going to create a year, revenue and memberships, and I'm just going to take these numbers that we have here, so we'll put in the end of the year, and I'll just drag this down to 2019, and then I'll fill in these numbers. So once you set up your data like this, you can either hit Control T or you can come up to Insert Table, and it'll come up with this, and make sure that you've selected all your data, and then it'll create a little table. And then what we're going to do is come up to Insert Pivot Chart and Pivot Table, Existing Worksheet. We want the pivot table to be placed in the existing worksheet, and we're going to put it down here somewhere, and I'll put that in. And then what I'm going to do first is I'll do my membership graph. So that will be, I'll put sum of memberships in here, and I'll put year in my axes, and then I'm going to cut that and put it on my new dashboard. So this is my number of paid memberships at the end of the year. Now I've got a macro built in here that can automatically format this for me, removes the fill, title and the outline. If you want to know how I did that, go check out my Excel efficiency video. I'll put the link up here. And it just does that, it removes all the background for me so I don't have to muck around. we're going to hide all the values of this. I'm going to change my font color to red in this example, and I'm going to make it a bit bigger, and I'm going to make it bold. I'm going to remove these lines here, and I'm going to format this axis because it obviously doesn't look very nice like that. So if we come to number here, no decimal places, and what units do I want it in? I want it in millions, but I don't want it to look like that there. So if you come down here, you can go to format code, and I'm going to put in quotes an M for million and hit add, and then now we've got million here, so I can remove that, make my graph a little bit bigger. I'm going to put my legend on the bottom, and then how did we have it in this one? It was just blocks, so I want to make the columns a little bit fatter, maybe 75%, and I'm going to fill them with a gradient in this example. You can obviously fill yours however the colour scheme of the company you're analysing is, and we'll go gradient, and because I've done this just before, it's already done it for me based on my other one, so format that how you like it. And then we're going to add data labels, and I want them to be up here like this, but I want them to also have an M on the end, and I'm going to round it to just the full million. So if we right click our data labels, come down here to number, I'm going to go number format with 0 decimal places, and I'll just put that M on here again in the format code. And cool, now we've got our first graph. Now we're going to insert our next graph, and we have to create a custom field in this. So if I go insert pivot chart, and pivot table, we're going to put it in the existing workbook again, and I'm just going to put it below this one somewhere. Hit OK. It's going to build us another one, and what I want is I want year again to be in my axes, but what do I want my number to be? I want it to be my monthly average subscriber payment, so how much people are paying on a monthly basis for Netflix. So what I want to do is come up to analyze, hit this button here called field items and sets, and we're going to make a calculated field, and this is going to be average monthly subscriber revenue maybe. And what's it going to equal? It's going to be a formula, so it's going to equal my total revenue divided by my number of memberships, and then divided by 12 for 12 months in a year. And then if I hit OK, now we've got a new calculated field here. I'll make it 2 decimal places for cents, and then I'm going to cut that and put it on my dashboard. I'm going to use my macro again to get rid of my fill color and my border and title, and I'm going to make my font red, hit bold, and increase my font size using Alt 3 on my quick access toolbar. So as I said before, you can go check out that video if you want to learn a few shortcuts as well, but I won't show them in this video. And then I'm going to change this to a line graph, but I actually also have an area graph in this one. So if I put my average monthly subscriber revenue in again as values, it's just going to duplicate it, which is fine. And then on my dashboard I'm going to have 2 series, and then I don't need this second key, so remove these lines. I don't need my legend either. So you go to design, change chart type, combo, and I want my average monthly subscriber revenue to be a line, and I want my other series to be a area graph underneath. So it's going to look like this. I want to have my gradient fill for my area again, so I'm just going to change that to gradient, more gradients. If I go gradient fill, it's going to give me the same gradient as I had before, which is good, so we've got some consistency there. And then I want to format my line, so I'm going to have that as white, and maybe I want a marker. So if you come up here, you can come to marker on format data series, open this here, and then go to built-in, and then I'm going to have a diamond in this example, and might make it a wee bit bigger, and I want the red fill, so it goes with the theme of my dashboard. And then I might also insert some drop lines just because I think they look quite nice. So we'll format this axis as well because it's just in straight dollars. So if I go to currency, we want to keep this in 2 decimal places because it shows the cents as well, which makes sense in this. And it's going to be US, and we're just going to hit add. Except I can probably actually remove the decimal places on this, and we'll just have them on our data labels. So if you right click this line here, you can go add data labels, and it's going to pop up with these. I'm going to right click them and hit format data labels, and I want to show them above each year. And I also want them to be currency with 2 decimal places, and it's going to be in US dollars, and I'll hit add. And now we can see over time what the average membership is paying per month, so we can see how that's growing over time, how our subscribers are growing over time, and how we're actually charging them more over time as well. So I'm getting more subscribers and I'm charging them more over time. Okay, so that's 2 easy ones done. Now let's build in the main revenue chart in the front. So if I come to data, we're going to insert another pivot chart and pivot table, and it's going to be based on this table in my existing worksheet, and I'll put it down here. Hit OK. We want to have year in our axes, and I'm just going to show revenue, and I want it twice so I can do the area trick that I did before. I'm going to cut this. I'm going to put it on my new dashboard, so I'll just call this new. And I'm going to remove my fill and border again, remove all my buttons, remove my lines, font color red, bold, and 12 font size. I'm going to put a axis on each of these, just a white axis, and make sure these are all the same, and we'll try to line them up as well. Okay, so now we've got our 2 graphs here, and I'll build this one out as well. So we want this one here, going to go design, change chart type, and we're going to be a combo graph. I want my sum of revenue to be a line, and I want my sum of revenue 2 to be an area, like we did with our monthly one over here, and hit OK. I'm going to bring this out a little bit. We don't need to have a legend in this case because it's explained up here and it's only revenue, so we don't have multiple items to worry about. And a cool thing that you can do here is, what I did was I got the Netflix logo, I made it a little bit smaller like this, and what you can do is click on these and it'll show you the dots above each year. And what you do is, if I hit copy on this and then hit paste, now it inserts the Netflix symbol as markers across your timeline, which I thought was quite cool. So I'm going to format this one with drop lines as well to make it similar to this one over here. So add chart element line drop lines. Cool, so I've got my drop lines now set up. So now I'm going to format this axis here. So just right click, format axes, and I'm going to go down to number. I want to show this in billions as well, so change that here under display units, and then under category I want it in currency. I don't want to show any decimal places on this, but I do want to show it in United States dollars, USD. And then here I'm just going to put a B on the end for billions, hit add, and then remove this axis title there. If I then come back to my line and right click it, I can go add data labels, and then I'm going to click on these, and I want to right click and I want to format those data series as well, and I want to show them above. And then I also want to show them as currency, and I might show 1 decimal place, and I want it in dollars again, and I'll put a B on the end. So now we've got our figures here in billions showing over time. So now we're going to create the timeline. So if you click one of your graphs and come up to the top, you've got analyze, and over here you've got insert timeline. So if we click insert timeline, I'm going to insert it based on year, obviously, and then I'm going to put it down here like we had our other one. you can click here, and we want to do it in years. We only want to be able to show this in years for our user. And if you go to the options up here, you can right click and duplicate, and you can create a new style and then hit OK. And then we're going to come back to that, and you would go to your new style and make sure this is formatted as new style, and then you can hit modify, and you can use all these different elements here of the timeline to format it. Now what I've done is I've already done this, so we can speed it up a little bit, and I've formatted it to fit in with the theme of my dashboard. So now someone can come here and they can adjust the timeline on this little slider, and what it will do is it will adjust all the graphs that it's connected to. So we want to right click this, and we're going to go to report connections, and what I want to do is I want to link it up to my other two graphs on the far left, this one and this one. So they were those two pivot tables. So if I link that up now if we adjust this, it will adjust all our graphs. So that's great. Now we can see, we can isolate a period of time and see what drove growth in that period. But we want to also have some stats sitting on our page. So I want to know the total growth over the selected period for my growth in membership. And I also want to know what that is on a compounded annual rate. So that's what CAGR is, compounded annual growth rate, if you didn't know. And I also want the same for my monthly membership cost. So let's go do that now. So if I come back to my data, I'm going to create a new little section here, and this can be monthly growth, and I want to find my min year, my max year, and then I'm going to have total growth and my compounded annual growth rate, and then here I'll have value. So let's just make this a little bit wider. My minimum year when this is filtered, so if I just show you, if I come to my new dashboard and I filter this to 2017 to 2019, come back to my data, this is 2017 to 2019 now, so my min year is always going to be sitting in this cell here, so I can hit equals that. My max year, however, can move around, so I want it to equal the max of what's sitting in what can be the biggest range that this can be in. So if I pull this back here to include all the periods, come back to my data, this is going to equal, we'll go max, and then it will be number value, because we want to convert this and make sure that it's in a number, and I'm going to go like this, and then if you hit Control Shift equals, it'll pull it through as an array, and then we have these two numbers here. Now I want to pull the matching value for that on the way of a match, so we're going to do index match. So if I go index, and I want it to pull from here, and then how many rows do I want it to go down? I need it to match this here, and I want to match that within here, but I need that to be number value as well, because it's matching a number value to a number value. So we'll go number value of this range, and I want an exact match, and then hit Control Shift equals because it's an array, and that didn't work. So this has to be number value of B25, and then now it's pulling through correctly. So I'll just pull this back, and then if I copy this down here, now it's going to match my 2019 in here. But you have to hit Control Shift equals. If you don't hit Control Shift equals, it's not going to do it as an array, and it's going to come up with an error. So make sure you hit Control Shift and equals. Now I'll show you what happens, because this can slightly break. So if you go to a new dashboard now, and if we pull this to 2017 to 2019 again, and we come to our data, it's broken because it's looking at this grand total here, and it's getting confused with what's happening. It doesn't know what sort of value it is. So if you right click it, you can go remove grand total, and then it's going to pull this in here. So to get our total growth rate for our monthly subscribers revenue, it's just going to equal my max year that I'm looking at, and it's going to be over my min year minus 1 to get the percentage change. and that's 14%. Now my CAGR is your compounded annual growth rate, so you have to do the same thing, but then you have to decompound it by how many years that you've done. So the formula is going to equal equals, and then we're going to have the value here from our highest year, and we're going to divide it by our lowest year, and then it's going to be to the power of, and then open bracket again, and it's going to be 1 divided by how many years. So how many years is this? It needs to be divided by open bracket, because we need it in brackets, 2019 minus 2017, because it's over 2 years. So you're taking 2017 to 18 to 19. It's just 2 years, not 3. And then minus 1 at the end. So that gives us a compounding annual growth rate of 6.8% and a total growth rate of 14.2. Now the way to check to see if your CAGR matches your total growth and you've calculated it correctly is to do it on a 1 year basis, because on a 1 year basis your compounded growth rate should equal the exact same as your total growth rate. So let's check that now. If I change this to 2018 to 2019, therefore it's only growing 1 year, and we'll come back to our data. My total growth equals my CAGR, so that's a good check. Now we're going to recreate this here, and we're just going to do it for our number of memberships, so we can see how our memberships have grown and how what we charge our members has also grown. So I'm going to copy this again and just keep it in the same spot and put it up here, and this is going to be membership growth. This is going to be number value of whatever's in that cell all the time, because it's always going to be our minimum. And then we're going to have our max on this again, but we want to remove the grand total, so remove grand total, and then I'm going to do a match based on these figures here, Control Shift equals, and the same for this. So just change your references around to make sure they're looking at the correct number. And then now we've got our growth rates for this. So I'll come back to the dashboard. Let's drag this out a few years. And now we can see our figures here. So I'll just quickly format this. So now we've got these live calculations, we can bring them into our dashboard, and then they will automatically update. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a text box. I'm going to go insert text box, and I'm just going to put it here. And of course we want no fill, and we want no outline. And then if you click that formula bar up here, I'm going to have this equals, and so we're looking at memberships, and we're doing CAGR here. So I'm going to come back to my data. I'm going to go to where I calculated my membership CAGR. So it's going to be G16. I'm going to hit equals, and it's going to pull that through. So if I align this, and then I'm going to make it red again to go with the theme, and make it a bit bigger, maybe that big. And then if I center align that, so now we've got our CAGR there. And what happens if I change this? We get an updated CAGR figure for our number of memberships. So what I'm going to do is copy this down. So if you click it and then hit Control and Shift, you'll see the little plus icon come up. And I'm just going to drag this down, and I'm going to put it on each of my little tiles. And then all we have to do is relink them. So come up to here. I know that my total growth was in the cell above this, so that can equal G15. Now it resets the formatting, but you can just format paint it like that. Now this is a big number, we have to make it a little bit wider. And then where were my figures in for my monthly membership cost? They were in, I'm going to turn my grid lines off. Yes, for outside border. Oh, yeah. I'm just going to format paint this one the same, just so we know what these boxes are for. I'll line this one up with here. And then these are in cell G28. So my CAGR is 29 and my total growth is 28. So CAGR G29 and this one G28, and then format paint them both. And then now what we can do is move this around, and I can see all the different changes in my growth over time from my two drivers of my overall revenue. So now we can see how our memberships have grown over the course of the years, and also how much I've been charging them. So obviously we can see that a considerable amount of Netflix's growth has been driven by an increase in memberships, and to a lesser degree the increase in what they charge us. So that was a basic breakdown of how I wanted to show you can analyse different growth drivers for a business, just based purely on volumes and sales price, and how you can also add in a dynamic timeline to show different growth rates over time of how that's increasing your revenue. So have a go yourself at trying to build something like this, especially for your own purposes, so you can practice. So hopefully you learnt something handy in this tutorial of how you can break down revenue into volumes and pricing, and how those grow over time, and then individually see how these are growing and how they're contributing to your overall revenue growth. Now, of course, this is a simplified sort of version, and I just wanted to give you guys a bit of a overview of different ways that you can do things so you can implement it creatively into your own Excel models. So remember to like and subscribe if you've learned a few things from this video. It really helps, and comment down below anything else you'd like me to cover. If you want to learn how to do more dashboard stuff like this, go check out my dashboard playlist. And if you want to get faster in Excel, go check out my Excel efficiency playlist. Thanks guys, and see you soon.